We've all heard it. Do it perfectly or don't do it at all. And honestly, that's the mindset that has trapped so many of us. Because here's the thing, perfection may sound like the goal, but most of the time it just keeps us stuck. I know for me, perfectionism showed up in the smallest ways. I wouldn't start a project unless I thought I could nail it. I'd rewrite the same sentence 10 times or try avoiding something new. And instead of making me better, it just made me procrastinate, stress out, and miss opportunities. And it's not just me. We live in a culture that glorifies perfect bodies, perfect careers, perfect Instagram feeds. But behind the scene, nobody's life looks like that. Perfectionism isn't about growth. It's about fear. Fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of not measuring up. So today on the Truth Unmasked, we're digging into the perfectionism trap. Why chasing perfect blocks real progress. How it shows up in everyday life, and what happens when we let go of perfect and start embracing messy growth instead. Everywhere we look, things feel polished, filtered, perfect. But underneath that perfection is the mindset that says, if you're not already good, don't even try. This is the perfectionism trap. And it's not just personal, it's cultural. We've built a society that rewards the fixed mindset while ignoring the power of learning and growth. Here's what I mean. The fixed mindset tells us that talent is everything. You either have it or you don't. If you fail, it's proof you are not cut out for it. And perfectionism feeds right into that. It makes us believe that unless we can do something flawlessly, we shouldn't do it at all. But the growth mindset flips the script. It says skills grow, confidence grows. Failure isn't the end. It's part of the process. And when we embrace that, we stop obsessing over looking perfect and start focusing on actually improving. The problem is our culture still glorifies the fixed mindset. We celebrate the natural genius, the overnight success, the flawless highlight reel. But what we don't see is the grind, the practice, the messy middle. And that's dangerous because when society rewards perfection, we all get stuck. We stop experimenting, we stop innovating, and we stop growing. And here's the thing. These two mindsets can send us down completely different paths. They shape how we see challenges, how we take feedback, and how we measure success, even how we look at other people's achievements. One of the first times I really saw this play out in my own life was with Pilates. I'd seen reformer Pilates on a TV show, and I thought it looked amazing. So when I had a trip planned to San Francisco, I booked myself into a small group class. Figured I'm in decent shape, so I signed up for the intermediate. Big mistake. That class kicked my ass. Halfway through, I honestly thought I was going to throw up. I was nowhere near the level of the others, and thank God there were only a few people in the class because it was brutal. But here's the twist. I loved it. Even though I was terrible at first, something in me wanted to keep going. I started showing up twice a week to classes, and I stuck with it. Eventually, I got certified, and Pilates is still a huge part of my life today. That experience taught me something very important. It is absolutely possible to start out bad at something and end up really good. And that's the difference. Fixed mindset tells us to quit if it doesn't click right away. Growth mindset says, keep going, because how you start is not how you'll finish. So, how do these mindsets actually play out in real life? Let's take a look at something simple, like drawing. Say you sign up for your first drawing class, and your picture is, well, terrible. With a fixed mindset, that feels like proof. You're not good at art, and you'll never be. And honestly, proof you should never come back. You'd probably feel embarrassed, maybe even defensive if the teacher tried to give you feedback, because in your head, you already know that you're not an artist. So why waste the time or the money? Now, let's take the same class, but with a growth mindset. You look at that terrible picture and laugh. You think, I'm keeping this because in a few months, I'll be able to compare this picture to how far I've come. You notice you have a long way to go, but you enjoyed the class, so you want to keep going. And when the teacher gives you advice, you actually listen and you take notes. You see small ways you can improve right away. So it's the same class, the same bad drawing, but the experience feels completely different depending on your mindset. One version leaves you feeling embarrassed and stuck. The other leaves you curious and motivated. So let me ask you, when was the time you quit something early because you weren't good right away? And when was the time you stuck it out and grew? How did each one feel? Here's the thing. Most of us didn't just wake up one day with a fixed mindset. A lot of it was taught to us when we were kids. And the wild part is, it actually came from people who were trying to encourage us. Think about it. How many times did you hear something like, wow, you didn't even try and you got an A? Sounds innocent, right? But what's the message underneath? That being smart means you don't have to work at it. Now compare that to, wow, you did well on the test. You studied hard and it paid off. One praises the result, even if you didn't put in the effort. The other praises the process, the work, and the growth. Same thing with learning an instrument. Someone says, you're such a natural. You didn't even practice and you still got it right. That feels good in the moment, but it reinforces the idea that talent is everything. Versus, I can tell you've been practicing a lot and you're really improving. The effort is being celebrated and not just the talent. And here's the problem. When we only praise talent, we reinforce perfectionism. We teach people that if they are truly gifted, they shouldn't have to try. But when we praise effort, we're showing the growth mindset. We're saying, keep going, keep practicing, because progress matters more than perfection. And nowhere is this more obvious than on social media. What do we usually see? The polished aftershots, the perfect parties, the dream house, the shiny cars, the put together family photos. But what we don't see is the process that it takes to get there. The messy part, the struggle, the late nights, the failure, the doubt. So we scroll and we think, wow, they have it all together. Their life looks effortless. Meanwhile, in our own lives, things feel messy, hard, sometimes disappointing. And that comparison can make us feel like we're failures. So, what do? We try to play the same game. We post the perfect party, the perfect relationship, at least for social media. But here's the truth, that doesn't make us feel better. It actually drives our insecurity deeper because we're putting out a version of life that nobody can keep up with. Not us, not them, not anyone. Life is messy. Growth takes work. And when we hide that, we reinforce the fixed mindset. The idea that success should look effortless. And that's why we often think too highly of celebrities or influencers. We see the performance, not the process. We assume they were just naturally gifted, when in reality, they worked hard, failed, and kept going. But because we don't see that part, we start believing that our own struggles mean that we're off track, when really, struggle is a normal part of learning and growing. And it's not just social media where this shows up. The fixed mindset can even trap people who are naturally gifted. That's how deep it runs. Think about all the stories of gifted kids in school or prodigies in music and dance. They grow up hearing, "You're such a natural," their whole lives. And at first, it feels true. They don't have to practice much, and things do come easy. But eventually, everyone hits a wall. They encounter something new, something hard. And here's the problem. Because they've been praised for not needing to try, the moment they do have to work, it feels like failure. It feels like they're losing their touch. The fixed mindset whispers, if you were truly gifted, this wouldn't be hard. And that can lead to fear of trying new things and a plateau where we can stop improving or even burnout. And that is heartbreaking because talent alone doesn't carry you forever. When I first read the book, Mindset, The New Philosophy of Success by Carol Dweck, by the way, if you haven't read it, it's amazing. I was shocked. I saw so many of my own fears. So many times I had let myself down right there in the fixed mindset. And here's the thing, my parents were trying to help. They wanted to build me up, but they used a lot of fixed mindset language without realizing it, and I really took that in. For years, I didn't try new things because I didn't have the confidence. I was scared I wouldn't be good. And criticism, even when it was meant to help, I took it so personally. That's the danger of a culture that values effortless success. We glorify the people who make it look easy, but how boring would life be if we only did the things that came to us naturally? That mindset discourages risk-taking. It keeps us from trying new things, and it makes us less resilient. But here's the truth about growth, and I know this might sound a little bit new agey, but it's real. Some of my best memories, the times when I've been the most proud of myself, were when I was in the growth stage, when I had no idea what I was doing, but tried anyway. When I felt lost, only to look back later and realize I was on the right path all along. I firmly believe we can improve at the things we love. the things that give us meaning if we're willing to put in the effort. The most successful people, sure, some or maybe a lot of them had natural talent. But what really set them apart was their work ethic. They kept going, they kept learning, they embraced the process. And even if we don't get to see that part, it's there. So here's my challenge for you this week. Pay attention. Notice the moments when you slip into a fixed mindset, whether it's your own inner voice or something you hear from others. When it happens, pause and ask yourself, how can I reframe this? Instead of praising talent, praise effort. Instead of focusing on the result, focus on the process. And then try something you're not good at yet. Do it for the joy of learning, not for perfection. Celebrate the process. Celebrate the fact that you showed up, even if it was messy. Because the win isn't how well you did. The win is that you did it at all. Drop what you've tried or are going to try this week in the comments and let us know how you did. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss Friday's episode, all about the contradictions in dating. Thank you so much. See you in the next episode.